Hey everybody, welcome back to Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. We are over we are over 2/3 of the way through season 2. I'm your host Ike, and before I spout any more sounds or make any more weird and quasi-correct statements, I'd like to just take a moment and say thank you for being here and giving this pod a listen. It means a lot to me that you chose to use your precious time and give me and my guest your ears. Now, if you still have the bandwidth after you've enjoyed this episode, please share this with someone who you think would like it. Or just subscribe yourself if you already haven't. It means a lot. So this week, I finally sorted my collection. I say sorted, I mean put stuff away. My collection is my absurdly large and costly magic collection has been sorted for years. However, and if you would like the detail on how I sort it, feel free to hit me up on passionandpeeves@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at @likeIkeProductions. Both are included in the bio or in the about. But I finally got everything put away, so now basically nothing, like a smidgen of cards compared to the what I'm sure was thousands were sitting out. So now my room is clean and tidy, just the way I like it. Very excited, very happy clam. But I got to experience a very, very silly moment in putting the cards away, wherein putting some cards away that I just purchased next to the ones that I already had and realized that I'd purchased something that I already owned and felt very sheepish. So that happened. Felt like a huge goober. It is what it is. It wasn't super costly, but it's very, very foolhardy and not shameful, but one of those things like, whoops, you just kind of feel like a goob. If I sound a little prompt and kind of rushed, I'm running a little late and headed out the door to past guest Peter. His birthday. We're going to go to some hot pot, so can't wait. See you in a bit, bud, if you're listening to this. But you'll also listen to this afterwards, so saw you in a bit, I guess. If that's the correct vernacular. This week I had to do something that I never thought I would do, and it didn't go the way I thought, and yet it worked out fine. So every 2 days a week, every Monday and Wednesday, I teach math for an hour at the charter school that I work at, where I otherwise tutor. I teach them math for 1 hour on Monday and Wednesday. And it has been very much a no-go. A lot of them haven't been getting it. I probably haven't been teaching them that well, almost certainly. And I tried a card sort of simulation on Monday, and it went like shit. And then Wednesday, I kind of, stuck to my guns, tried something new. Some of the circumstances were different, but I tried playing Yahtzee, and they didn't get it, but they had fun nonetheless. And so I think that really helped, and I got a lot of positive feedback from like their kind of a teacher case manager person, and they said they loved it. And so I'm going out actually after I go to Peter's party. I'm going out to Target and to find a new game to teach these kids some aspect of math. Maybe Candyland, I don't know. Gonna need to find math to incorporate it, but we're gonna try that out and see how that works. Run it back, see if the formula stays the same. But it was super fun to have kids to be like playing a game with kids who were enjoying it and inserting a little bit of math, incepting them, but not really. It was very obvious. I stopped the game multiple times, asked them a question. Some of them got it, but they were otherwise, rolling dice is fun. Also, and the last kind of addendum bit here is after a conversation with past guest and a familial member, Isabella Pope Sears, aka Mommy, I've decided to write every day for 30 minutes. And I was having a conversation with a couple friends, and one past guest, Lafayette, and a friend, Ami, about writing and doing anything and how it takes practice. You have to set a timeline. You have to have a reason to do it other than just, I love this. And the idea that whimsy and love and passion for something goes indefinite and requires no regularity or push is just a foolhardy notion. So I'm going to every day sit down for 30 minutes, probably when I get home from work, and write something for script, or whether it's a screenplay or, a notions. I'm going to take 30 minutes and put it on the clock and just focus as hard as I can every single day. And some days I'm going to end up, I'm sure, looking through Reddit when I shouldn't have, or, looking up, watching movie trailers. It's doing something I shouldn't. But I'm going to do this every day for 30 minutes. Maybe I'll eventually get it up to an hour, but we're going to start baby steps, do 30 minutes. Try to manage that, because I really don't want to leave this field unturned, because I do think it is something that I would like and something that I want to pursue. So, wish me luck in this endeavor. Today, I get to talk to a very dear old friend of mine and neighbor. This is Sunny was Utterback. I don't know if her last name came up. She has since married and I believe changed her last name. But Sunny, when I lived in Fallon, Nevada, was my neighbor. We would ride the same bus. She occasionally would babysit me. And she was like one of the cool kids that I remember in high school. She was part of the band. She played bass. I went and saw her like sing. I didn't know it was a cover song, but she sang this song. It was called Whatever. I don't remember who sang or what the lyrics. Well, I remember some of the lyrics. But hold on. No, it's good. I got Spotify on me right now. And I think I have this because of Sunny. Nope, can't find it that easily. Damn it. But is this silly song? I'll try to find it and put it in the notes. If I don't, it's a dorky song. It's not that good, but I remember her singing it one night opening for an awesome band named Something Less Than Perfect at Jive and Java when I was a kid, and it stuck with me. And it was really fun catching up and talking about unrelated stuff and catching up and talking about related stuff, I guess. But enjoy my interview with Sunny. All right, folks. This fine day, we have a Peace Corps member, a first place in the 8 to 10-year-old white belt Taekwondo championship, a stand-up bass badass, a pilot of small Cessnas, and mother of two. It's Sunny!
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It's been a while, as they say.
It has been a while.
For a little bit of background intel, my guest here today used to babysit me when I was... How old was I? I think... I'm trying to remember. We moved over...
I was 16, so you were probably...
16. I must have been like 14 or 13 or something like that, yeah. Just a wee little teenager, a precocious little scamp. So we did remake Connection when I went to Monterey to go to college, but sans that very small moment in time, this is first time in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. That's true. My husband was very impressed by the what was it, like the spicy wings and YouTube night that he had. He's like, God, I haven't had that since college. And I was like, you got to live it up, man. Like this is the good stuff.
For those of you that weren't the other three people in the room, Sunny and her fantastic husband came over and we ate the season 9 Hot Ones wing sauces. It was delightful and painful and spicy.
It was. And he was so happy with it because he really enjoys that show. And so what he started doing is basically through part of his job, he's a teacher. And so sometimes he has to do activities like on the side with students. Mm-hmm. And so he's done hot wings, not like competitions, but like interviews inspired by you. Cool. So you have started a tradition for him.
Woo! Well, I mean, more that has more accolade and pomp and circumstance should be put towards, oh god, Sean, I don't remember.
Oh, are you talking about the interviewer?
The actual interviewer of Hot Ones.
I'm going to expect the same level of investigation and fact-finding in this interview that he brings. And I will be disappointed if you don't.
I'll counter that with weird questions and no research.
Yeah, fair enough.
To jump right in, what's your favorite movie line that you like to quote for no reason at all?
Oh, uh-oh. I'm going to fail on all of these.
Were you prepared? I think not.
I was not. Was I supposed to know that beforehand? Now I'm thinking about even what my favorite movie is. Honestly, it's not a movie. It'd be a show. And I constantly quote Picard in my head.
Okay. What's one of your go-to Picard quotes?
I often think of Darmok and Jihad at Tanagra. Anytime there's like a time where people are having a miscommunication, or like if my 2-year-old is saying the same thing over and over, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then finally when I get it, I'm like, his eyes are open. So that definitely, I don't have a movie, but I've got a show. Yeah, exactly.
What's your favorite non-exercise thing that you have to force yourself to do, but are very happy with yourself when you've done it?
Get gas. Generally, that's like on the bottom. Every Sunday night, so you know how people get like the Sunday scaries for work, right? They're like, God, I have work on Monday. I feel that at the beginning of the weekend about Sunday night laundry. Like I try to get up on it. I try to get ahead, and it never works. It's always like I still find myself with like a mountain of laundry. We try to make it fun. Like we'll put on like fun music. The kids will like be bouncing around like in the clothes. We don't care as long as it's not the folded clothes. And then we do it, but I'm still just like, God, like I'm just trying to keep up with it, and you never can.
It's impossible. No one's ever done it.
Honestly, yeah. Right.
Who's someone you've never met, alive or dead, that you'd like to have lunch with?
Oh, it's gonna make it. Oh, who? I guess I have a couple. This is gonna like polarize the audience, possibly. I would love to have a meal with I'm gonna change it. This is not gonna polarize the audience. Okay.
Dang it.
Unless they hate my biological grandmother. Okay, so my dad was adopted, and through a lot of research and like 23andMe and Ancestry.com, we were able to find his biological family. And also just like asking for the birth record eventually, because the state he was born in opened it up. So there's so many wild stories from his dad's side of the family. And like we found a bunch of half siblings and they're all super nice. But like there's all these crazy stories from his dad's side. And then his mom's side, we have like no information. And all I really know is that she was like 27 when she had him, gave him up after like a month, which is crazy.
It's a very odd amount of time.
Yeah, it's a long time. And I was like, what was it? Was it like postpartum? Did she just not like it? Like, what was going on? My prediction. Shit of a kid. Yeah, right. My prediction that it was just like postpartum, no support. She's a single mom in like the Dust Bowl. It's like 1950s. And so I would love to have a meal with her and just be like, what happened? Like, what happened? Because
conduct your own interview.
Yeah, right. Like
and just interrogate the heck out of her.
She never got married again. She didn't have any more kids. And so I'm so curious. And it's stuff like that. Like sometimes mysteries just stay mysteries,
Yeah.
and I would love to just know.
Yeah. Knowing is 80% of the fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not that, I don't think I'd like judge her harshly or more positively. Yeah. I'm just intellectually curious, like what happened, and if it
absolutely same page with you.
Yeah, there. Like what, and also how do they meet? Because it's so totally different people, and so you're like, what happened there?
Totally. Where would you? Do you have a restaurant that you think would either fit that circumstance or that you would want to go to and take her to?
I imagine in my mind, I wouldn't be asking like a 27-year-old. I'd be talking to like an older person, like roughly at the age that she died. So I'd probably want to take her to like a diner. Doesn't a diner just seem like where you would have that type of conversation? Funny story, funny side story. I was with my dad in Vegas and we were playing roulette. And we had just found out some of the juiciest details from my dad's side of the family. And so there's like one other person at this table. And my dad and I walk up and we were just like so enthralled in this information that basically we came to the table and we were like, so do you think they had the person in the car before they killed them or after they killed them? And this guy was just like, I saw him do the side eye and he was like, what the hell? Because my dad and I, we look unassuming. Like we just look like normal folks that would not have such a juicy story.
Yeah, such salacious stories.
And we were just but we were so excited we couldn't like not talk about it.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's such a great like wild thing. Like you just can't contain yourself.
Yeah,
and then it just happens in public. And you're not thinking of like how are people gonna do this. You're like whatever. Who cares?
Yeah,
like,
I was like I don't care.
Get to the bottom of this.
I don't know this guy that's next to me. He's probably interested too.
There's a great. I don't know if it was like a trend on TikTok or a YouTube channel where somebody was doing this, but I remember seeing multiple videos with, I think it was a guy in Britain or something like that, would go around and film himself doing something similar, but it was just made up. He'd go like stand around and be like, yeah, I don't know if I should keep the baby. I don't know. My mom says it's her 8th time being pregnant. It's not going to be a bad thing. And just like make up these like fabricate these horrific and like troubling to overhear stories.
Yeah, and of course
then just
we can't help but listen.
Yeah, and then just like film down low so they don't see it, and then just like catch their reactions where they're like, "Oh my god," and they're just aghast.
Yes, I'm so guilty. I don't mean to always be listening, but I just can't turn off my ears, and my brain's always going fast. So like I can do whatever I'm doing while listening to whatever you're doing, right? So
sure.
I can't tell you how many times like I've been in a restaurant with my husband where he's talking to me and then I'll be like looking and I'm listening, but I'm also listening to something else. And he's like, what are they saying? Like what's that conversation? Because obviously it's pretty good. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it is. Let me tell you. I'll debrief you in the car.
Yeah. they got some deets over there.
Yeah. We've had that happen to us too, where like we once went to a restaurant and there was, like when you're in a relationship long enough, you'll have moments where you're like grumpy or edgy, and it's not like a deal breaker. You're just having a rough night. Yeah. And so there was this older lady, probably like 75, dressed to the nines at the table immediately next to us. And it was a fairly crowded restaurant, just eating by herself, right? And she had had a cocktail and she'd finished her meal. And me and Ian, my husband, got into this like dumb argument about ranch dressing and how one of us was eating all of the French fries and the other one of us was waiting until we could get some ranch dressing to enjoy the French fries. And so argument ensued. And so we were in like a pause in between like our like grumping at each other. And this lady was like, you could tell she was captivated. So then the waitress came over and brought her bill. And the lady said, actually, I'll have one more. And she got an extra drink just so she could sit and listen to our
such juicy
bad night. Just of us being like not our best selves. It was so good.
That's amazing.
I couldn't blame her.
Yeah, that's great. I just love it. She's like, actually, cancel that.
Yeah, she's like, no,
let's do another round.
I'm staying. Yeah.
This show has really picked up, I tell you. Well, since you brought up ranch, the king of condiments, if you were a condiment, which do you think you'd be?
Yeah, I'd be ranch. Not to be boring, but
no, it's not boring. It's the best. Yeah,
it's good with everything.
Are we a specific type of ranch? Like, is there a brand? Is there,
the problem
spicy?
Is there is not a brand. So, when you go to like a pizza restaurant, like a pizza place,
yeah,
and they have like really liquidy ranch, and it's just like comes in like a little plastic cup, but it's like watery. It's it's the best. It tastes the best. And like whenever someone gives me like actual salad dressing ranch, I'm like, this is disgusting. Like they're not the same. They're not the same. So I don't have a brand. I am the
pizza parlor.
The ranch. Pizza parlor liquidy ranch that's probably made with like sour cream and, you know,
whatever was
dust,
left in the bag.
Knows, but that is the best. Dust.
What's your favorite non-traditional curse word to utter in such instances where perhaps they bring you good ranch when you wanted the shitty ranch?
Oh, yeah. Non-traditional. I would say... I mean, I make up a lot of words.
Love it.
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm lame. I'll say darn. I'll say ding. I'll say hecka because I'm from Nevada. You know, like hecka's where it's at. If you're not saying hecka, you're hecka lame.
If you haven't said hecka, you haven't been to California.
Yeah, right.
That is a West Coast, like, conservative... But I'm around my like parents on church Sunday.
Yeah, it's
like,
not even hella. It's like a hecka. Yeah. It's the best of all the curse
you're getting
words.
Slapped.
Like, yeah, right. It's too close to the devil. But hecka, exactly. It's Hecka's much far better. Enough away.
Yeah. That's 3 degrees away from Satan. You're fine.
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
get burnt. What life lesson do you wish you learned sooner?
The life lesson I wish I had learned sooner is to bring stuff up, right? Like, don't let it mull over. Don't be afraid to, it's not like bring up confrontation, but it's like, don't always assume someone has ill will. And if you think they do, bring it up. Like, I've had instances where, like, it could be so hard to be like, you know, the other day that thing you said or that thing that happened made me feel kind of uncomfortable. And so, you know, like, I just wanted to talk about, you know, like something like that. Like, people often will have something happen. They assume that it was ill intent or that they just assume, and then they're too scared to bring it up. And so they just like let it fester. Or they let it ruin relationships when a lot of times it's possibly a misunderstanding. And even if it was like offhanded or like in the moment of someone being just a jerk or whatever, it's something you can move past. And so a lot of times people don't recognize, so many of us, myself included, we're in our own minds. We're in our own world, right? So sometimes we're thinking about our experience. We're not thinking about the experience of others. So we might not realize how we've hurt someone or the things we said probably offhandedly impacted someone. And so it's just, as I've gotten older, I realized like, okay, lean in. like when stuff like that happens, talk about it, lean in. Also, there's been times where like, just like as a parent, you know, sometimes you can have moments where your kid will say something that is hurtful, right? And it's easy to be like, well, fine, I'll give them some space. But it's also sometimes that's just like a defense mechanism to protect yourself from getting hurt again. But what you really have to do in that moment is you have to lean in. You have to be vulnerable.
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah, you have to be willing to get hurt again by them saying something mean again. But what they need is the reassurance that even when they're having a dark moment, that you're not going to abandon them in that moment.
Yep.
So it's those are just 2 things that I wish I'd learned earlier.
Yeah. Absolutely know where you're coming from, what you're talking about there. It's that idea of like being too afraid to, because you don't want to upset the other person with this thing that's affected you potentially, or like you're saying, you know, it's been awkward and like that moment has died away and you just like, there's a good, at least for me, there's a large part of me that's like, all right, well, you know, we don't want to, why go back to something negative where we can stay on, you know, this hot streak of positivity that we're rolling on right now, you know, between the two of us. So absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely, but you know, it is for the better in the long run, which is, you know, it's like doing it. It's like relationship chores, right? In the long run, you're going to be glad you mowed the lawn.
Yeah.
That being said, mowing the lawn fucking sucks. So,
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
do you remember your first date movie?
My first date movie?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I never did movies on dates.
Wise choice from everything I've heard
Yeah,
and experienced.
I didn't. A lot of my dates, in high school I didn't date that much. We were more into like going to rock shows and stuff. So like,
what was the first date rock show?
Ooh, that's a good one. It was probably, what was that band? Oh. So it was probably Little Francesca, which I don't know if you remember them, but they had like the banger from rural Nevada. They had like this one song that everyone liked and everyone would dance to. But yeah, like my first date, yeah, it was probably band-wise. Like I was dating one of the guys that was so into music at that time. And so it definitely would have been there. But no movies, because I'm busy talking. Like I'm a talker, and so
what?
Movies,
never.
But yeah, movies are like more like established. Like movies are like, because when you're first dating someone, you're so captivated by them. Like I'm interested in the person, and so if I'm at a movie with them, I'm not paying attention to the movie. I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I should move my arm closer so it's touching theirs, or like, what are they thinking? You're like, are they gonna hold my hand? Like, so I can't be chill. I'm no chill, and so I'm not gonna go to a movie.
Well, I'm glad you just went and saw Little Francesca.
Yeah, exactly. Just take me. I mean, not like I know way like a band is better, but like at least if you're watching a band, it's like socially appropriate to still talk a bit. You know, I mean, not like yelling, not being like being.
Yeah, you're not having a conversation,
annoying,
but
right?
words
But you could like converse a bit. You know, it's not a quiet environment.
What's your favorite meal to make just for yourself, assuming cost and time are not relevant factors?
Yeah, if cost and time were not a factor. Favorite meal. I wish I could be like so healthy, but like it wouldn't be. Like it would, I would go back to like my college struggle meal, which is just like a giant baguette, a plate of mashed potatoes with butter on them. And I would just eat the mashed potatoes with the butter. Or I'm sorry, with the bread.
Carb on carb, am I right, fellas?
Yeah, like I'm not saying like if it was like my last meal, like death row, I wouldn't necessarily have it that. I'd probably still have a meat. And the funny thing is like, would I have a vegetable? Like I like them, but also I'm
gonna die. Like,
it's like
of all times, do not eat your vegetables. That seems like the one where you get a pass.
I know, right? Like, but then part of me is like, well, is it a full meal? Like, have I done my due diligence to this meal if I didn't have broccoli? But then it's like,
can you imagine?
But I'm dying, so
can you imagine your last meal and your mom's there and you're like, all right, I think I'm done. She's like, gotta finish your peas.
You gotta
You're
eat
like,
those peas. And I'd be like, no,
Fish, I'm
that
about
can't
to
be the
die.
taste I finish with. Yeah. Or like if the broccoli, I mean like, especially like broccoli or Brussels sprouts, it has to be well cooked. And so like, what if it sucks? And then you're like, boo. Like what? Like,
I wonder if you can get like a pause on like your
a steak
on your like decapitation. You're like,
guys.
hey, look, I know you're gonna kill me and all, but like, come on, like,
I know, because
send them back.
It's a lot of pressure for that meal to be really good, right?
Yeah.
Because it would be so. No, I'm not saying they like deserve well or not. I'm just saying, if it was me personally, if I ordered that and then it sucked, that would suck.
That would not, That's definitely the worst time to have a bad, like, a chef, like, asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
What inanimate object would you be best friends with were it sentient?
Oh, well, my airplane, not my airplane, but the airplane I fly, of course. I already feel like feels for it. Like I go in the plane and I'm like, oh, I love you plane. Even though it's like 50-year-old beat up.
Even though it doesn't talk back, I'm like, I love you.
Yeah, like I'm like you're my buddy. Like I want good things for you.
Do you have does the plane have a name or do you give it a name?
Doesn't no normally call them by their tail number. So like you'll be like, oh, is that 737 Zulu Delta or 456? So normally you call them by their tail name.
It sounds like an exhausting conversation.
Well, yeah. Normally you don't go the full name, like you don't do all the digits. You might just do the last three. Sometimes people give them nicknames, but I don't have my own plane yet. But I bet if I did, not if, when I do, I'll probably give it a sweet nickname.
What are some nicknames that are ruminating?
Well, you got to be inspired by the plane, like.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can't just, it's kind of like, giving your kid a nickname before they've shown up in the world. No, they got to do some rascally stuff first, or at least you got to like meet them first.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it'd probably be inspired by the color, or like, I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. I apologize for such a absurd question.
Yeah, how ridiculous.
Please forgive me.
Uh-huh.
All right. How about this? I tossed you this fun question and said, you're going out to a party. You want to look radical. Mm-hmm. Other than your normal garb, what accessory do you add to your ensemble?
Oh, I would add, other than like my core, what would I do? I feel like a fascinator would be fun. Like what the British people wear at events. Those like not dumb, like crazy, like feather in your hair or like gold brooch thing in your hair. Not that I would be like, I don't know. I feel like you can make it work. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like if you're wearing
I
like
believe in you.
High-waisted crazy pants that are black, and then like black strappy boots and like a corseted black top, and then you have like a black feather attachment thing. I feel like that would look good. I buy
that completely.
Yeah.
Who would you want to play in a movie of your life that you think could rock said brooch and doodads?
Yeah. So brooch wise, I mean, I don't think I could even rock the brooch look that I imagine in my head, but I feel like Tina Fey would probably land the right amount of like awkward.
No, I see it.
Yeah, I think she'd do well. I wish I had the cheekbones. I don't. When my hair's long, it tends to be curly. And so, yeah, I feel like she'd do good.
No, she'd do you good.
Mm-hmm.
She has the ability to summon the edge and the energy that you provide to a party. I see it now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's no offense to any other guest that's come on. The best answer.
Oh, thank you.
10 out of 10. Would ask again.
Mm-hmm.
What poor man luxury do you still enjoy to this day?
I love a good Olive Garden run. Like I love going to Olive Garden. There's not one where I live.
Man, you must have been rich when you were broke. Going out to Olive Garden? All right.
No, it's
Top
now that I'm bougie now, so I think that Olive Garden was chill. Oh wait, no. Then I have one from you from my childhood. One for you.
No. I love Olive Garden. Stick with it.
Okay, no, but now I have to tell you my childhood one because it's
okay, fine. Childhood, and then we're gonna go back to what your Olive Garden order is, so we can
wrap it up. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Olive Garden order. We'll just do that because it's boring. It's the soup, of course. It's the potato and sausage soup. It's wonderful.
With infinite breadsticks.
Yes, of course. And even though I'm not all about the breadsticks, I like the salad a lot. It's like crunchy. It's good. And then the soup is good. You always think soup's going to be healthy, but I've made that soup and it came out very similar. And there is nothing healthy in that soup except for the kale and the water. Everything else is like bacon, sausage, cream, potato. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so for my childhood struggle enjoyment is when I was a little kid, my mom brought me out some Chips Ahoy cookies. And I was like, oh, these are so great. And I was probably like 4 or 5. And I was playing with a friend. And I was like, could we get some milk? And we must not have had any milk. And so she just brought me out a cup of water. My mom's creative. She's like, one of those Top Chef people who just like make up stuff with food, right? So she's like, whatever, just here's the water. Not that that's like Top Chef ass, but you know what I'm saying. She's creative. And so I was 4 or 5. I didn't know the way the world works. And so I was like, all right, yeah, this makes sense to me. So I would dip my cookies in the water. I still do that. I don't need milk. I just like it with water.
That's some psycho killer shit right there, yo.
It's good.
Yes, just dip my Chips Ahoy in this nice room temperature water.
Cool water is preferred. But yes.
I get cookies with water. I like sweet things with water. It's a great palate cleanser. My favorite sidekick to a great bowl of vanilla ice cream is a nice, good, mildly cold cup of water, like 1 ice cube. Mm-hmm. But dipping it, girl.
Yeah, you gotta dip it. You know why? Because crunchy cookies are not good. I don't like crunchy cookies. Unless it's like a ginger snap. I don't want a crunchy cookie.
That's why you buy good cookies.
No. You buy Chips Ahoy. You dip the entire cookie in the water. You put the entire cookie in your mouth one go. And then you just eat like 40 of them like that.
Yeah, just perfect, 40 of them, a couple sleeves.
Perfect afternoon snack.
Snack?
Mm-hmm.
I think you've had your caloric density for a week.
Hey, man, it's fine.
All right, now I'm afraid to ask, but I gotta know since we're in frugality town. Do you have a life hack you'd like to share with the class to improve their daily living?
Pack your, to maximize how much sleep you get. Just pack up your lunch and all that stuff before work. I know that's not like a hack because plenty of people do it, but for me it's a hack because it's still a struggle. It's still something I never want to do. But then if I don't, it's a freaking nightmare the next morning. So just set it up. Just do it. Because if you do it in the morning, for some reason it takes you like 4 times as long. Like at night, if you're packing your own lunch or you're packing your kid's lunch, it takes like 45 seconds to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If you do it in the morning, it's like a 5-minute ordeal. So just get it done the night before. Also, save for retirement, people. That's my life hack. I can't tell you how many people. So as part of my regular job, I help some employees kind of off board. I help them prep for retirement. I help them look at estimates for their retirement. And I can't tell you how many people show up to this meeting and they're like, I have literally no idea. Surprise me. And I'm like, no, it should, not this late in the game. It should not be a surprise. You shouldn't be 55 being like, let's see how this retirement works out. I don't know. No, that's fine if you're 25, but just start saving. And people are like, I can't put any money. Just do $25. Stop complaining about it. Or people that are like, I want to retire one day, but oh my God, I can't put in $200 a paycheck. I'm like, okay, so you just won't retire. And they're like, but I want to retire when I'm 55. And I'm like, so then save more now. And they're like, they just want it both ways. And you're like,
they really do.
Unless you're playing Powerball real aggressively and lucky, you can't have it both ways. So you just got to start working on it now.
Well, sort of in that similar genre, is there a job at some point in your life that you wanted to pursue but are very glad you didn't?
Yeah. So when I got out of the Peace Corps, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of had hoped the Peace Corps would help solidify what I wanted to do. But when you're in the Peace Corps, you're surrounded by all these I don't know, you're just surrounded by people that know what they want to do. And since I was kind of grouped in with a bunch of health education people and just Peace Corps people tend to be in foreign policy and they a lot of them apply for the foreign service, stuff like that. I was like, oh, I really maybe I like policy. Maybe I'd really like international relations and Middle Eastern policy. And it was funny because when I got out of the Peace Corps, I was kind of telling my dad about this and I was looking at master's programs for this. And he's always supportive. He's always on board for stuff I want to do. And he just goes, oh, I didn't know you were ever interested in that. and he didn't say it in a mean way, but part of me was like, oh yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not that interested in it. And so I'm happy I didn't divert years and all this money into something that, I mean, I'm interested in it, right? Intellectually, but am I passionate about it? No. And so would I have necessarily succeeded in that type of work? Possibly not. So it's good that I did not go after that.
Yeah. That's so... I love your dad's response. Like, they got you to think about it. It's like, ha!
Yeah,
didn't think,
like he wasn't trying to be mean. He was just like,
no.
He was just like, huh, we've never talked about that before.
Yeah. It's kind of beautiful, though, when somebody that knows you and loves you and thinks of you fondly, when they respond in a way that is so divergent than the way you are. It's a great way to instill pause that isn't in and of itself contradictory. So it's like a good way to like help steer a ship, like Inception style, where you don't have a hand in it, but you did, but without any, like, if they're like, if you were gung-ho about going into that field and he had said that to you, you'd be like, well, and you would have, like, you know, not read him a riot act or anything like that, but like kind of told him why.
Yeah.
You would have been able to tell him why. But the fact that you weren't made you question it and then look at it and then decide, oh yeah, no, I don't think so. And then, you know, dissuade yourself from that. That's such a great way of doing it. Just, it's such an old man thing. Like, it's such a loving old man thing too. It's what I love. It's like, ha!
Yeah. It's like, when do I get that parental magic to just be like, not like forceful, still supportive, but just like, that's, oh, okay.
Yeah, that invisible puppeteer magical movement for sure. Well, when you figure it out, you'll have to let us know, because that is the secret to life. You can just write a book and retire at that point.
I know, right?
Well, speaking of books, what media, whether it be book, graphic novel, TV show, or movie, have you been putting off that is next on your to consume list that you just can't wait to break open?
I would... So the movie Knives Out, there is a
sequel
to it. I really want to do that. Okay, I'm terrible about media. I'm terrible about it. Like I like never can read a dang book. I don't have time. Or maybe I did if I didn't look at TikToks. And I like, everyone watches shows. I don't watch shows. I'm like lame. I don't really watch shows. I do watch YouTube. So like I watch a fair amount of like YouTube stuff. But like if you were like, Sunny, you need to watch media tonight, right? I'd be like, awesome, let's watch the sequel to Knives Out, which I can't even remember the title, but I know I would like
Glass Onion.
Okay, yes, I would watch Glass Onion.
Would recommend. It's a very fun and great film. Yeah,
like I really enjoyed the first one. I love a good mystery, and I love a good like whodunit type of mystery, you know. I got like really into like P.D. James like in the last couple of years. Like I haven't read that many books in the last couple of years, which is embarrassing, but
kids will do that to you, I've been told.
Yes, it will. And it's like, no, I think it's just like I've honestly like, I work, I have kids, and then I'm doing my student pilot thing, and so like there's no extra time
there's not.
So like, it's fallen out of the way. But of the few books I have read in the last couple of years, P.D. James has been most of them. Which is, she wrote Children of Men, which is unique. Like, whoa. I think that book is just great. And then the movie, I'd seen the movie like a decade earlier, and that movie was really interesting to me. And especially just the long scenes. There's all these long scenes that are one cut, and they're at like sunrise or sunset. And so you can't screw it up, right? And so those are wonderful. Those are great. But then her core books are like, they have a detective, and, you know, there's like 15 characters. And of course he's so smart, and he like figures it all out. And it gets everyone together at the end to say who done it. And they're good. You know, they're just simple, good books.
That's awesome. So P.D. James, you said?
Yeah. P.D. James.
Oh, P.D. James. Okay, awesome. Well, lastly, before we throw it to a commercial break, if you could have listeners of this podcast hear one song of your choosing, which would it be? Oh,
it would definitely be Mars by Holst. Mars, bringer of war.
Why'd you choose that one as opposed to the other planets?
Oh, it's so good. Okay, I do like all of them. The reason I like this one, it's kind of long. Sorry, everyone, if you're going to end up listening to it. But I like it because I played it when I did orchestra in high school. And there's only a couple pieces. So I played the upright bass. And I loved playing the upright bass. And there weren't that many pieces that were like that exciting being an upright bass, at least at the time. There's a lot of like violin heavy stuff. And so like as a bass, you're just playing like boom, boom, boom. Or you're just playing like long notes. But there were a couple pieces that we played that were like so exciting as a bass. And actually even in this, the bass part is very repetitive. But it's very like impassioned. And so like after you'd play it, when you were done playing it, your heart was racing. Like you felt like you were in the moment. And it was really exciting. And so still now I feel that way. And so if you don't like classical, maybe you won't feel that way, but maybe someone would feel that way again. And every time I hear it, I still get excited.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, with that, we're going to throw it to our first break. Feel free to stick around and enjoy the totally real commercial, or take a minute to enjoy Mars by Holst. Or if you really wanted to hear a song from a previous episode, check out the playlist on Spotify. Passionate People and Preposterous Peeps Podcast, Song Rex. It's a long title, I know. Don't worry, there's a link in the description. Either way, see you in a jiffy. Have you ever wanted to kill a small woodland creature or break a window but not had the physical strength? I know I have. Now introducing Rock. Rock comes in a variation of sizes and ready to use. Simply put Rock in your hand, raise it back to ear level, and release. See? You've got it! This ad does not condone the violence against small woodland creatures or windows, nor will it be held liable for any inability of use when coming into contact with paper. And we're back! So, Sunny, what's your passion?
Oh, my current passion is aviation. I want to fly. I love flying.
Like with your arms?
Like
Flip-flopping?
With an airplane. Yeah, I guess there's different types of flying, right? So about a year ago, I became a student pilot. And like I still have a job, I still have kids, just doing all the normal stuff. But yeah, I'm a student pilot. So it's kind of annoying because it's really taken over. Like I think about it all the time. And I've never had anything quite like that, like that lasted so long. Like I've done other stuff that I'm into. Like I said, I like music. I like playing the bass. I was doing a little bit of rock climbing for a little while. But this is like really captivating. I really love it.
Awesome. So you started it, when was the first time that you went up in a plane?
First time was on New Year's Eve, 2021.
Okay, so little over like a year and 3 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's taking me a long time. Most people, it does not take this long.
But were you flying? Were you just going up that wasn't your first time in a plane, obviously, but that was your first time in like a prop job?
Yeah, that was my first time in a little plane. And so obviously I've been in jets and stuff like through like commercial travel, right? But it was the first time I'd taken a little plane. And so a lot of people always have the question, how do I start? Like, what do I do? And I had been wondering this for a while. Like I'd been thinking about it for like probably 6 months before I actually called and booked something. So what you do is you just find a local flight school, and then you call and you say, hey, I want to do a discovery flight. And so discovery flights are great because they're kind of like a lesson, but with no pressure. They're just there to like show you, like to take you up. And that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to go up and see like, how do I feel? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel nervous? In earlier parts of my life, I had been actually a nervous flyer. And so it's kind of weird now.
Even in big planes?
Yeah, even on big planes. Like, which is weird because I've been flying on like commercially since I was a baby. I had a military family, so you fly a lot. But yeah, it was weird. I just had a period of time where I kind of felt like I'm not in control. I don't know what's up with this turbulence. Like I just felt really just out of control, I guess. So, and it was an uncomfortable experience. And so as I've gotten older, obviously it's waned a bit. Having kids helped because then I was like, well, I got to at least pretend to be brave because I don't want to freak you out. So that was helpful. But yeah, and so I did this discovery flight and I really liked it. And my CFI, he was great.
You're sorry, you're what?
Oh, I'm so sorry. My flight instructor. It's a certified flight instructor. So my instructor took me out and we went over by Big Sur, which is like beautiful. Like it doesn't get better than that. Like people, no. Like I can't imagine.
There's a reason people pay millions of dollars.
Exactly.
To live
like some people, their discovery flight is in like Kansas, and I'm sure it's still pretty. Not to bash Kansas.
No shade on Kansas.
But I'm just saying, like my first discovery flight was like mountains and puffy clouds, and I mean we didn't go through the clouds obviously, but like it was a picturesque day, and so it was wonderful. You like couldn't beat it.
Sinker, huh?
It was great, yeah. Also, and I've heard him say this to other people, so I know it probably was a lie, but it works. And he like we land, and he's like, "Hey, so how did that feel?" And I was like, "Oh, that was great." And he's like, "Yeah, you seem really natural at this."
Sitting in a plane.
That is well, just like flying, and like comfort, but just because he didn't fly most of it. I mean I'm sure he's doing the feet because when you fly, like you have to do stuff with the feet too. But like I was holding on and I was putting throttle and I was, like doing the stuff he was telling me to do, but I was having to maneuver the plane. And so, it's funny. It's nice. You want to hear, hey, you seem natural at this. You seem like you're meant to do this, right? Because I've heard him say it to other people and I'm like, hey, I thought I was the natural one. But no, I don't think so. I think I'm just normal.
So did you have to do any, and I apologize if my brain slipped a few, but I thought this was you were just going up for the first, you kind of got, I should go up and do this, kind of almost like conquering a fear. But if you were flying the plane a little bit, I would hazard a guess that you had to spend some like schooling before this experience.
No, that's the whole thing with the discovery flight.
They'll just let any bum.
Well, you have an instructor with you. But yeah.
That's a horrifying idea. Like, I do not trust myself that well under pressure. The idea of me just like holding on to both of our lives. And if I was just like, life sucks. And I just like nosedive, like he's got to stop me.
It's like it's like a car. Like it's similar to a car, just it's in 3D instead of 2D. So yeah, it's like a car. That's kind of how I take it. Also, though, I mean, eventually, before you solo, you do have to have a medical exam, and so part of that they're gonna check like I'm sure they're doing kind of an assessment, like you're not gonna try and crash this plane, are you? So I passed somehow.
So the reason for you going up was just conquering a fear, seeing what it was like?
No.
What was it?
It wasn't. No. I was interested in getting my private pilot license. So I wanted to go up to see just initially like how I felt about it. But yeah,
why did you want to get your pilot's license if this is so scary for you though?
But it wasn't. So, okay. Let's back up. Like about 8 months prior. This is where the genesis
began.
Yeah, that you're gonna find out that I'm Batman. Okay, so
I knew it.
Yeah, exactly. Just not as rich. Okay, so Batman had a traumatic experience with bats. Became obsessed with bats. Right. I had a traumatic experience on a commercial flight. Became obsessed with planes. So picture it. It's like June of, I don't know, like 2021 it must have been. So my family and I were flying to Maine, and we'd flown out of Monterey to Texas, and then we were taking a Texas flight from Dallas up to Maine. And so this is like I have like two little kids, like we're all in the plane at the time. I had a 1.5-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. So we go up, and just to hit cruising altitude, and like I'm never chill on a plane because I'm just like a alert person. Like I'm always like trying to be aware, situationally aware, whatever. So I can never sleep on planes. I'm not like, yeah, I'll like do like Sudoku on a plane, but I'm observant. And so I hear like, I think I hear like this bing, bing, bing. Like, you know how they like call the flight attendant's attention?
Yeah.
And so I like kind of, I look up and I see like the flight attendant in the front, like on the phone, and they look concerned. And I was like, uh-oh, that's unique. Like normally they're pretty chill. And so then they like flick on the lights, which is also unique. And then at the same time, our plane like starts to like descend like quickly. Like it feels like we're pitching downward a little bit. And then the I think that was the flight attendant. They come on and they're like, we are going to be making an emergency landing. We're not sure where yet. Our plane is losing cabin pressure. And so if the mask popped down, put it on your face, like help yourself before you help other people, and I'm like, oh my God, like, and we're all like scared, because we don't know the situation, you don't know why the plane's depressurizing. You don't know, right? You never, even if it's like something fairly innocent, you never want to have an emergency landing anywhere. And so, and then the flight attendants, they're hyped, they've probably never had this happen. And so then what you never think about when you have a quick descent is like, also because your plane is depressurizing. And let me know, it wasn't a rapid depressurization. It wasn't like in a movie where it's like a big bang and like a cloud forms in there because the pressure changed and like there's paper flying all over the where. It's not like that. At least in our case, because it was like a slow depressurization. And so, but because we're like descending so quickly, like everyone's ears had a really hard time equalizing. And so, like when, as an adult, you go up in a plane and like you might have to pop your ears, right? But imagine like, it was like a plane of like crying children because all of these poor kids, they like couldn't equalize their ears and were like quickly descending because they want to get you down below 10,000 feet. And we were up like at cruising altitude and they want to get you down quick because if your plane does depressurize and you're not at a appropriate altitude, you can all faint, right? And so, and you're hoping your pilots, they have their mask on. They're taking it seriously, but it can be really crazy. Also, like literally as they say, like, hey, we're going to have an emergency landing, my 3-year-old, who I had been asking to use the bathroom every 15 minutes for like 3 hours, she finally is like, Mommy, I have to go use the bathroom. And I was like, sorry, buddy. Like, you need to sit down. So it was a mix of like her... She was upset. Like suddenly the ears are bugging her. She needs to pee. And then the funniest thing, not funny, not haha, was that like we're all scared. We're like, oh God. So then my husband and I were like, oh my God, there's only going to be 3 masks that pop down, right? Because there's 3 seats, but there's 4 of us. And we're like, whoa, what are we going to do? And my husband's like, I won't wear the mask. You put it on and make sure the girls have one. Very stoic, very sweet of him. But then I learned, because eventually the mask did pop down because our plane depressurized sooner than they were able to like get us down to 10,000 feet. So the mask came down. And actually in our row, there were 4 masks. So I don't know, like, so when you book a flight and you say like lap infant, that's important to tell them that you're going to have a lap infant. So that way you can make sure you're in a row that has enough masks.
Huh.
Yeah. So... Anyway, we land. It was fine. Like, it was safe and stuff. It wasn't crazy. We landed in like Memphis. The pilots did a great job. They did exactly what they're trained to do. But then after that, I started looking up like, okay, like I tried to look up the report on my plane. I tried to look up the audio from air traffic control of the plane. I looked up, I don't know, I just started getting into like aviation incidents and then it kind of leads to like other aviation-based content. And then I started being like, oh, flying seems so interesting. And then I was like, oh, I guess I could do that. Like I could try that out. And so that's kind of where it all came from, was this really uncomfortable air emergency experience that kind of came to me really wanting to fly.
Wow. I'm glad there are people like you in the universe that are interested in taking that experience and going that way.
Like the opposite.
Because for me, it's, how much can I stay on the ground?
How much can I never fly again, right?
Yeah. Instead of like looking into, it's nope, done. Like, yeah. I suddenly became a ground cow. Like, that is, I know that's fine.
Well, you know, it's funny. It did kind of resolve my my worries, you know, because before on commercial flights, you know, still you'd be worried, right? But now I get in those planes and I'm like, this thing's way safer than the Cessna I'm in. I mean, when I'm in a Cessna, it's me. It's just me having to do all this stuff. But like, you know, I mean, commercial planes, like, they can fly with one engine, you know, like they have two engines. They can fly on one. They have like two people that have their like equivalent of a doctorate in flying. Like your pilot, they've spent like $100,000 probably in just in their own money to get all the licensure to be there. They've had to fly for 1,500 hours just to like get their foot in the gate for like to like be like a regional pilot and stuff. So like they want to be there and they're like just so well trained that like I totally get why people feel nervous. And when it goes south, like it seems to go south majorly, right? Because we do hear about plane crashes and stuff, but it's just like your pilots are like your best friend up there because they just have really good training and there's like all the things in your favor to make it a success.
Yep.
So
nobody, myself included, can see this right now, but my editor Richard Ashford is nodding his head very much in agreement. Being, Richard is also in the. He's pretty far along at this point. He's in the training aspect of flight school. So
hey, what's up?
Very much. Yeah, you're in good hands.
Come on up to Monterey, and I can fly you around Big Sur, and hopefully 2 months, and I'll be done.
He's a little preoccupied flying around San Luis Obispo.
Oh, that's where I did my first cross country, and it was like the worst cross country ever. It was no fun. We had my CFI, but we had like so much turbulence. Like it was just not just that, but just like there was some grumpy attitudes and.
On a cross-country flight?
Yeah, I mean, everyone always thinks like you're going to fly across the country. And I'm like, no, it's like cross-country high school running. It's like it's just like a jaunt from here to there. But yeah, I've had so many like goofy stories over the last year from aviation. I love it. It's great.
What's your favorite goofy story to regale friends and family with?
Well, I've had a lot of awkward experiences, like my flight instructor was once like gesturing to the flaps when I was practicing a certain type of landing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. So like he did that. We landed. But at the same time, we're like trying to take off. It's called a touch and go. So you just like land and then you take back off again. And he was like, he flipped out his hand, but he did it in a way that I thought he was trying to give me a high five. And like, I'm busy flying. Like I have my hand on the throttle, one hand on the yoke, which is like the steering wheel of the plane. And like he throws his hand out there and I'm like, what are you doing? And I like kind of tried to like half-ass a high five. And he's like, what are you doing? And he was just pointing at the flaps. And I'm like if you knew my instructor, like he's very like strict. He's like, he's very professional with it. He takes it super seriously. He would never high five me in any circumstance, and especially not in like when we're actively trying to land or take off the plane. And so we had a good chuckle about that. He was like, what were you doing? I'm like, I thought you were trying to high five me. And he's like, what about me tells you I would ever high five you? I'm like, yeah, fair enough.
That's so great. You just return to your former self in that moment. You're just like, oh, high five. Yeah, sure. What's up, dude?
Yeah, I know. Like, I was like, no, what the fuck? I think this.
That's so great. Oh, that's it's so great. Like I can see you doing that, being like, yeah, sure, I guess. Like,
and this is why Tina Fey gets to be me.
Exactly. It's 100% what Tina Fey would do too. She'd be like, yeah, high five, sure, I guess. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. It's, anytime you try something new, there's like humbling experiences, right? And so I feel like you just learn to just be like, yeah, whatever. I was awkward. Just try it. Whatever. Because you have to try new stuff and you're going to suck at it sometimes. And that's okay. Like no one ever expects you to be good when you first start stuff. And so.
Well, losers do, but fuck them. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like just try it. Who cares if you suck? Because eventually you'll get better.
One of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite TV shows is framed and hanging at the school that I tutor at. And it's from Adventure Time. It's Jake talking to Finn. He goes, hey, man, sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that in like a song before.
I believe it. It's a great truism. Highly recommend. Something, definitely one of those life lessons I wish I learned aeons ago, because I've been trying to avoid that my entire life, only to realize that is the most important step to achieving anything worth having done in life.
Yeah, you gotta try. Gotta give it a shot, because what's there to lose? Really, when people are like, oh, I don't know if I should do this thing, it's like, okay, well, if you try it and you succeed, awesome. And if you try it and you didn't succeed, you're exactly where you were anyway. So just try it.
I think, I don't know about for other people, but for me, I think one of the biggest reasons was somewhere between shame and feeling foolish and like not being good at something, that experience. But the reality is while you don't experience it as directly, you are, as opposed to feeling bad, you're doing bad by not trying. So it might not be as noticeable initially, but it will be in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 35 years. You will feel that mistake.
Yeah.
So I recommend you try to high five your flying instructor. And
no,
worth it.
Never again.
I mean, on a podcast talking about it must have been worth it.
Yeah, I do love a good bit of type 2 fun. Like just try it out.
Type 2 fun?
It'll be good as a story, at least.
What would you say is the biggest misconception about aviation by the wider world?
Other than, well, just that it's dangerous. I mean, it's not that dangerous. Like I said before, everything is in your favor. Other than, sometimes God's like, sorry, plane, it's just not your time. But generally, everything is in your favor. You have so many people trying to help you out. The flight attendants are there to help get you off the plane. Your pilots are there flying the stuff. Air traffic control's up there making sure everyone's going where they're supposed to be. I've thought about just all the complexity that goes into aviation, right? Even just airports. When you think about I fangirl over how cool airports are. My poor husband. I don't know why he stays with me sometimes, because it's every time we go to an airport, I'm like, hey, isn't this cool? It's and he's like, no, it's just an airport. And I'm like, no, but
it's where all the planes live.
I'm like, imagine it's like a micro city. It has everything you need. They have to plan for everything. No one's allowed to leave except for certain ways. No one's allowed to enter through certain ways. They've got boots coming in. They keep it secure. They have all this electronic stuff. I often think, way too often think about okay, there's airports that okay, this is going to be off the rails. Okay, so on YouTube you can watch the video. There's this really good video of when that earthquake hit in Japan, and then there was the tsunami afterward, and then it was the Fukushima issue, right? Mm-hmm. So the video I saw was at an airport, and I was like, wait, there's a tsunami. What do they do about the planes that were on the tarmac? What about, and a lot of airports have underground tunnels to get people from A to B. And I was like, what do they do about that? They didn't have that much time. Even now, I don't know. What do they do? And so, but I bet they had a plan. I bet they did something, right? And so that's what I always find interesting about airports and aviation in general is there's a plan. There's so many things in life that don't have a plan. Or that you're just this does not function well. But what I like about aviation is people thought about it and they're what worked best. Now let's...
Yeah, it's been workshopped and troubleshot.
Exactly. So that's...
Pun intended,
that's
literally
what I like
into the
about
ground.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so awesome. On the kind of flip side of this coin, do you have a favorite non-obvious aspect
of aviation?
Mm-hmm. Something that a lot of people don't know that you're just like, bruh, let me learn you something.
Favorite non-obvious. No, no, not that I can think of. I mean, okay, here's some things that I did not think about aviation initially. Is as a woman, I'm like a minority over there, right? Because there's like,
yep.
I think like 5% of all commercial pilots are women, and then like I think it's like 11% of like student pilots are women, or maybe it's less. It's something like that. So I'm already like a unicorn, and then everyone is like young, like a lot of student pilots. They're either like 60-year-old dudes, but there's not that many of them, or they're like 22-year-olds, which is cool. That's great. Like, get out there. But I'm neither of those. I'm not like some wealthy old dude, and I'm not some like younger person that has like a whole career in front of them to do aviation. So it can be kind of alienating in a way, like you're kind of by yourself, right? Luckily, I'm super outgoing, so I tend to just like talk to everybody. I tend to be fairly friendly, so I feel like that really helps. If you were shy, I think it'd be hard. But what I find really helpful is there are means for community still. So like, I would have never in my life guessed that TikTok would have been a useful resource for me. If anything, I would have been like, TikTok, that's where you go to get roasted, right? Because I mean, like, comments on TikTok versus like any other platform are just brutal. But so I was like, well, I'll just make some fun videos and kind of document this experience. And then it's been nothing but positive. I mean, every once in a while you'll get like some rando comment and you're like, that's dumb. But in general, it's been really positive. And so one thing I didn't foresee was the kind of community-esque that you can get from it, and the resources, because that's not something I organically get. Like I'm not going to get invited to like the study session with a bunch of 20-year-old dudes. But what I can find is, it broadens your network. So I can find people who do want to study with me or who can share information. Especially with aviation, a lot of it is kind of, like talking to each other, finding out facts from each other, and like getting the debrief from each other. So it's really important. So if you don't have that naturally in your small circle, you have to broaden your circle.
Oh, that's so sweet, though. I love it. Like, I love it when a community that seems like it would be harsh, or a medium that seems like it would be almost antagonistic, ends up being a positive well of, growth for somebody. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, I was very surprised. So I did a couple of videos on Instagram, and then I just posted them on TikTok, and TikTok it's just more conversationally based, And yeah, I was really surprised. It's been great.
So, I know you don't watch that many movies or TV shows, but I'm sure you see plenty. What, as a pilot, looking back at films that show aviation, stands out as either surprisingly correct or obviously wrong now?
I don't even know if I have the skill set to talk about this yet. I mean, I've watched a lot of other actual pilots debrief, like films and stuff. I think there's some stuff that now that I have more knowledge, I'm better at assessing. Maybe like the movie, is it Flight with Denzel Washington?
Yeah, it's Flight.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that you're just like, no way. Like the first officer is like screaming for most of the whole encounter. The first officer kind of, it seems like he can tell that Denzel's character is off, And I honestly think that most first officers would say something,
Yep.
I think that the flight attendants, if they were with a pilot that was drinking that much the night before, they would say something, because most people we're safety based. So yeah, there's stuff like that. Like when he's like accelerating through bad weather, you're like, but like I'm a student pilot and I know you don't do that. So, it's just stuff like that I'm like, come on, fly. I mean, it was still like a good movie. It's still captivating, but yeah, I was like, no.
When it came to the aviation,
not so much. Yeah, I don't think so. Like he's talking a lot. He just, like he's talking during the takeoff. You don't do that, and just stuff like that.
All right. Well, before we move on to the obnoxious moment, is there anything else you want to say about aviation?
Get out there, people. Get out there. Just give it a shot. Give it a try. Even if you don't have money to do it, there's scholarships out there. And yeah, it's fun. It's beautiful. If you love going on hikes and like seeing nature, just imagine what it's like from above. You'll like it. Get out there.
And high five your flight instructor.
Exactly.
So moving on from the passionate to the peeveful, is that a word? Mm-hmm. It is now. What is your preposterous peeve, Sunny?
Okay, so my preposterous peeve happened at work, and it's happened several times since. So when people bring bagels, like they'll get like bagels and they bring them into the office. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will only want half of a bagel. And so my reasonable idea is if you only want half of a bagel, you're going to be cutting it down top to bottom, right? You're going to be getting yourself just half of a bagel, but you're cutting it down top to bottom. I get so like unreasonably upset when someone cuts it like widthwise, what's the word? Like they're just taking the bagel top. Like imagine you put the bagel through a bagel cutter and you just took the top, the good part with all the toppings and the cheese and the whatever's on there. But then you're leaving the lame bottom half, like the butt. You're leaving the butt of the bagel.
You're leaving the butt of a bagel.
And so like people, I get it. They just want half a bagel and maybe they're just like trying to be carb conscientious or whatever. But don't like take only the good part.
You can't separate a bagel from its family.
Yeah, just
don't take a bagel away from its butt.
I just think it's selfish. Like just cut it down the middle so that way if someone else also wants half a bagel, they can have a proper half. They don't have to just have like a butt of a bagel. So
basically quarter it, but take 2 quarters. But take a top and a bottom quarter.
Yeah, like, yes, exactly. Okay. You gotta get some top and bottom. Don't just only take the top. Like, I had a hissy fit at work once about like bagel bottoms.
Go on.
No, it's just like, and what I didn't realize is like the person that had done the act was like 10 feet away from me in a different cubicle. And so I like came back to my cubicle and talked to another colleague, and I was like an uninvolved colleague. And I was like, oh man, like there's just bagel bottoms in there. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, someone took just the top. I'm like, how selfish. Like, I hopefully didn't say selfish. In my head, I thought selfish. But I was like, but that like doesn't, like no one's going to eat the bagel butt. Like, I was so annoyed. And then I didn't know that the culprit was like at her cubicle and she like played it chill. She like kept typing. She like looking at, she was just
crying from the shame eating her bagel,
staring at her Word document. No blinking. She was just
tears running down her eyes.
No, she was doing a good bluff. I mean, she probably thinks I'm a jerk, but I don't care. She's a jerk. She took half the bagel. She
separated a bagel from its butt.
Anyway, I just thought it was inconsiderate. But like I said earlier, maybe she had her own thing going on, and she didn't think that
screw her. She separated a bagel from her butt.
Out. Yeah.
She knew this was going to happen.
She knew
the repercussions when she chopped it in half.
Butts.
That crazy bee.
Yeah. I mean, if they were plain bagels, I don't think it's such a big deal. But
when there's toppings and no toppings,
yeah, I think that is a big deal.
Yeah, that's like going in and like cutting a muffin in half and then just taking the muffin top and being like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, or like just leaving the crust of pizzas. It's like I split the pizza with you, you get the crust and I get the or just taking the cheese off. You know.
That's some American Psycho shit right there.
Yeah, right.
Is this the first time you noticed this was like recently at your job?
Yes. Yeah, I had never experienced it before. Like I'd never been in a situation where it had happened before.
I'd never come across such a lunatic that was willing to go to sink to such lows.
I mean, she's a nice person, but just in the moment, I was like, what the heck?
It's like you said, she's a nice person. In my mind, the only thing that was coming out was, she sounds like a bitch.
She honestly is fine. She's like, fine. But yeah, I mean, technically in this situation, I might have been the bitch because I was like at work, kind of like being like, oh,
hey,
the bagels.
You stood your ground against a tyrant who was separating bagels from their butts. It's not acceptable. It shall not stand.
I stood up against a moral wrong.
Exactly. Yes. And with that headline, we're going to go to our second ad break. But don't go anywhere, because when we get back, Sunny is going to enter the lightning round. Have you ever just looked at fried carbs on a plate and thought, I need to eat those, but it doesn't taste all that appetizing? Introducing catsup. Catsup is a sugary and red syrupy paste that'll overshadow any unappreciated taste. Simply douse the unpreferred tasting object and ingest. Mmm. Thanks, catsup. And we're back. Sunny, are you ready to enter the lightning round?
Lightning round.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, put however much time it takes to bake this cookie on the clock. Sunny, is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
Yes. Yes, like if something really bad happens, yeah, sure.
Make the food or do the dishes?
Make the food.
Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
Oh yeah, and I got kicked out of chemistry class in high school for it.
Oh, I know who that was. Are you out of touch, or is it the children who are wrong?
I'm probably slowly getting out of touch.
Would you rather have your inner monologue sound like Gilbert Gottfried or Fran Drescher?
Oh, Fran Drescher.
Would you rather read the cue cards while wearing the crown or live in a hovel and speak your mind?
Maybe the crown. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bad person for that, but the crown.
Pineapple on pizza or fist fight?
I'm allergic to pineapple, so I guess a fist fight, but only if it could be like the slap type where people were like hitting each other with tortillas.
Okay. Is professional wrestling cool or lame?
I used to think it was cool. I have gone before. Yeah, I'll go with cool. I'm not going to yuck someone young, you know?
Stub your toe or make small talk with strangers?
Small talk with strangers. Any day.
You're having the... Sorry, say again?
Any day. All the time.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
No, of course, something amazing. It's the best day.
Nick Cage, best or worst ever?
Worst.
Do you create your own thoughts or do you just listen to them?
I create them.
Would you rather meet your mortal demise by vicious werewolf attack or single zombie bite?
Probably a werewolf.
Bears, Beets, or Battlestar Galactica?
Beets. Beets, like the dirt beets, right? Like those ones taste good.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. Those. Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Reservoir Dogs or Blood Simple?
I don't know either. Pass.
Cheese fries, an abomination or gift from God?
They're good. They're a gift.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
Yes.
You go to the doctor tomorrow. He informs you that you have a life-threatening illness, but don't worry, there is medicine that will take care of it. However, you have two options. The first option, if you take too little, you will die. You have to measure it out every day. Or, if you don't take it at the same exact time every day, you will die. Which version of the medicine do you choose?
The too little one. What if I'm sleeping? What if I'm napping, you know?
Are truth and reality the same thing?
No.
Are we simultaneously living in another dimension at this very moment?
Yeah, probably.
Beatles or Elvis?
Elvis. Way more sexy.
Could you eat 37 of your favorite food for $5,000 in a 1 hour time limit?
Yeah, especially if they were like small, like cinnamon bears.
Well, congratulations. You've survived the lightning round. Now, before we move on, I, like many listeners at home, would like to now know, what is your favorite food that you could eat 37 of in a 1 hour time limit for $5,000?
Favorite food, it would probably be like cinnamon bears.
Cinnamon bear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like the candy, those little spicy candies.
Spicy candies?
Yeah, they're like shaped like a bear. They're gummy. They're cinnamon flavored.
Huh.
I could definitely, if you gave me an hour, I could Joey Chestnut those in literally an hour. Not a problem.
Love the deep cut. All right. Well, as a reward for saving my little village from the question monster, I shall reward thee with a question that shall ring eternal in these lands. Or until we get tired of hearing it.
All right. Are you ready? The question is, would you rather the checkout line never have a line, or the fast food place that you go to, whenever you order a medium fry, they always give you a large?
I'm pretending that I'm going to lose weight this year, so I'd rather the checkout line never had a line.
Mm-hmm.
But after this year, it's definitely, I would prefer a large fry over a medium fry.
It's nice to get a bonus fry in there.
Free bonus that was not expected is better than finding something free.
Yeah.
Hot take.
I'm like always impatient, so I would honestly probably rather have no lines. But yeah, I'll take a free fry. A mother of two that's got a job, a husband, and likes to fly. What? Yeah. Yeah. No lines, please. No lines.
All right, as we come to a close here, anything you want to plug, shout outs you'd like to give, places people can find you or your content?
Yeah, if anyone wants to check out my TikTok, it's called It's Sunny Up Here. And I also have an Instagram by the same handle. Every once in a while I go live. I like to post little videos, and always feel free to stop by and just give a little chat. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sunny, for being my guest today. And a special thanks are due to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer, Joshua Gibbons. And thank you. Yes, you listening at home or wherever you found time to appreciate this. Time is the most precious commodity we have, and I appreciate you spending yours with us. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, or just share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. Or if you already have and are out of episodes to listen to, don't worry. We put a new episode out every Monday at midnight on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And a very special thanks are due to our patrons, Sabella Yellow. If you'd like to join said illustrious ranks and have your name read aloud, just head on over to patreon.com/Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And remember, folks, if our days are numbered and songs are sung, at the end of the day, I think we've all won. So please stick around, because great things have only just begun.